My childhood best friend's closest girlfriend just confessed her love to me in the middle of our launch party. The whole room erupted in cheers, but I could only lock eyes with Chloe Davis, whose expression had gone cold as ice. A few minutes later, she cornered me in the fire escape, her eyes bloodshot. "Nice move, James," she spat. "Playing the field? Trying to take both sisters home." "Both?" I stepped closer. "There's only ever been one person on my plate, and you know it." When Sarah Jenkins confessed to me, my brain felt like it had short-circuited. My first instinct was to find Chloe. The lights in the private karaoke lounge were dizzying, and the rest of the team was howling along to some off-key rock song, beer bottles cluttering every table. Sarah stood in the middle of the mess, clutching a microphone so hard her knuckles were white. She looked at me with an intensity that was almost frightening, her voice trembling through the cheap speakers. "James, I love you. I've loved you for 3 years." Whoa! The room exploded with whistles and catcalls. A few of the guys shoved my shoulder, grinning like idiots. "Nice work, Miller. Keeping secrets. Say yes. Say yes." I stood there frozen, the half-empty beer can in my hand, suddenly feeling like a lead weight. My eyes moved of their own accord, cutting through the rowdy crowd to the corner sofa. Chloe was sitting there. She wasn't singing or drinking. She was just leaning back, scrolling through her phone. The screen's glow flickered against her face. The rotating disco lights swept over her expressionless profile and moved on. She didn't even look up, as if the noise, the confession, and I were all trapped behind a pane of vacuum-sealed glass. My chest tightened with a dull, inexplicable ache. "James," Sarah called out again. The tremble in her voice had turned into raw, expectant anxiety. She took a small step forward, the hem of her white sundress swaying. She was usually a confident girl, but now her face was flushed deep red all the way down her neck. She looked heartbreaking. I opened my mouth, but my throat was bone dry. Memories flashed through my mind. Sarah was Chloe's best friend. Since college, the three of us had been an inseparable trio for 6 years. We grabbed late-night burgers together and ranted about work together. When Sarah went through a bad breakup, Chloe and I stayed up all night drinking with her. When Chloe and I fought, Sarah was always the one playing peacemaker. I'd always thought of her as my closest female friend after Chloe, but I had never thought of her that way, not for a single second. "Sarah," I licked my dry lips, my voice nearly drowned out by the noise. "You've had too much to drink, haven't you?" "I haven't." Sarah's voice spiked, and her eyes welled up instantly. "I'm clearer than I've ever been. James, I know there's someone else in your heart. I know I might not have a chance. But today was our agency's big win, and I couldn't hide it anymore. Just let me be a fool for one night, okay?" The moment her tears fell, my scalp went numb. The cheering got louder, people started chanting, "Kiss her," and a few female coworkers moved in to comfort her, throwing accusatory glares my way. Suddenly, I was the villain of the story. Damn it, what mess. I crushed the beer can in my grip, the aluminum letting out a sharp screech. Cold beer and foam spilled over my hand, feeling sticky and gross. I wiped it off on my jeans and looked back at Chloe's corner. She had looked up. Her phone was dark now, gripped tightly in her hand. She was watching me through the chaos, her gaze deep and still, like a frozen lake in the middle of the night. It was unreadable, but so cold it made my skin crawl. Then, she gave a faint pull at the corner of her mouth. It wasn't a smile. It was a sharp, fleeting expression I couldn't name. She stood up, grabbed her black denim jacket from the back of the sofa, threw it over her shoulder, and walked out. Her movement was fluid, without a hint of hesitation, as if she were just stepping out for air. But I knew her too well. If she were just stepping out, she would have kicked my shin or given me a look. She wouldn't have treated me, and everyone in this room, like I was invisible. "Chloe," I shouted instinctively. The room went quiet for a heartbeat. Dozens of eyes bounced between me and the door. Chloe's hand paused on the handle for a fraction of a second. She didn't turn around. The door opened and closed, cutting off the light from the hallway and swallowing the last glimpse of her jacket. "James!" Sarah's tearful voice pulled me back. I looked at Sarah's watery eyes, then at the closed door. A surge of irritation hit the roof of my skull. The string of logic in my brain snapped. "I'm sorry, Sarah," I said, my voice dry but clear. "I've always seen you as my best friend. I'm going to assume you've had too much to drink and forget you said anything." Without waiting for a reaction, ignoring Sarah's face going pale and the gasps erupting behind me, I bolted for the door. A friend tried to block me, but I dodged him. The hallway was empty, save for the eerie green glow of the exit sign at the far end. I ran into the stairwell. The heavy fire door was slightly ajar. It was dark inside, lit only by a sliver of light from the hallway floor. I pushed it open, met by the smell of stale tobacco and dust. In the shadows, a small red ember flickered near the landing. Chloe was leaning against the cold tile wall, a cigarette between her fingers. She wasn't smoking it. She just let it burn, a long stalk of gray, ash threatening to fall. She didn't look up when she heard me. I stood before her, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Up close, I could see the shadow of her lashes against her cheek. "Why did you run?" My voice was hoarse. Chloe finally raised her eyes. In the dim light, they were shockingly bright like shards of black glass. She looked at me, that half-smile, half-grimace returning. "Why stay?" "To watch you say yes." Her voice was flat, but every word felt like a needle. "You're good, James. Hiding it all this time? Flirting with my best friend right under my nose? How long has it been?" 3 years. I wasn't. I snapped, my voice echoing in the empty stairwell. When the hell did I ever flirt with her? Be reasonable, Chloe. If I had known she... You didn't know? She cut me off, taking a step forward. The distance between us vanished. I could smell her cold, faint perfume mixed with the scent of smoke. She tilted her face up, her gaze sharp enough to dissect me. "A blind man could see the way she looks at you, and you're telling me you didn't know." I choked on my words. Did I really not know? Not entirely. Sarah was always more attentive to me than to others. If I mentioned a stomachache, she'd bring me soup the next day. If I was up late editing photos, she'd text me at midnight telling me to go to bed. When Chloe and I were fighting, Sarah was always the first to know, always telling me that's just how Chloe is, go easy on her. I had always assumed it was because she was my girlfriend's best friend, that she was just being kind by association. Looking back, I was a moron. I never thought of it like that, I said, my voice weakening. I ran a frustrated hand through my hair. "She's your best friend. So, she confessed, and now you feel bad for her?" Chloe's voice got colder. She took a drag of the cigarette and exhaled slowly. The blue-gray smoke blurred her features. "You look pretty hesitant back there. The whole room was waiting for you to say yes. Maybe I should go back in and help you out? Tell them I just went out to buy you some celebratory flowers." "Chloe," I growled, grabbing her wrist. It was thin, the bone pressing into my palm. Her skin was ice cold. "Stop being so damn sarcastic." I was hesitant because I didn't want to humiliate her in front of everyone. "She's your friend, not some random girl off the street." "My friend." She let out a sharp, dry laugh. She tried to pull her wrist away, but when I didn't let go, she just left it there. The cherry of a cigarette was dangerously close to my hand. "Get it straight, James. The person you're worried about, the person you're so conflicted over, is my best friend." She enunciated every word. Then, she raised her other hand and poked my chest with a cold finger. "Right here. What are you actually thinking, huh?" I looked down at her. Her face was a mask, but her eyes were burning with an emotion I couldn't quite grasp. It wasn't just anger or sadness. It was a frantic, desperate scrutiny. My chest ached where she poked it, and the spark of anger in me flared, fueled by the memory of her acting indifferent in the lounge. Why was I the one being interrogated? I was the one who got blindsided by a confession. I was the one caught in the middle. And here she was, acting like she was the judge and jury. I tightened my grip on her wrist and yanked her into my chest. She gasped as she collided with me. The cigarette fell to the floor, sparks scattering across the concrete. I leaned down, and, amidst the haze of tobacco, I silenced her sharp tongue with a kiss. The moment our lips met, we both froze. It felt like someone had hit the pause button on the world. The only sounds in the stairwell were our jagged breaths and the faint, muffled thumping of a song from the karaoke lounge. Her lips were soft, cold, and tasted of bitter tobacco. What the hell am I doing? The thought barely registered before Chloe reacted, struggling against me. Her hands pushed against my chest, shoving hard. I didn't let go. Instead, I tightened my arms, pinning her against the wall. The frustration in me had finally found an outlet, and I deepened the kiss with a reckless desperation. I forced my way past her teeth, tasting the mint of her gum and the heat of her mouth. Slowly, her struggling weakened. Her hands, which had been pushing me away, balled into fists against my t-shirt, her knuckles white. Then, they slowly relaxed, falling limp at her sides. I don't know how long it lasted, seconds or an eternity. Only when we both ran out of air did I pull back. We leaned our foreheads together, our breath hitching in a hot, tangled mess. She kept her head down, her bangs damp with sweat clinging to her skin. I couldn't see her eyes. Silence filled the narrow space, thick and suffocating. Our hearts hammered against each other like drums. After a long moment, I managed to find my voice, forcing out a sentence through the haze in my brain. "Do you know now?" I reached up, my thumb roughly brushing her wet, swollen lip, wiping away the moisture. I stared into her eyes as she finally looked up, her expression a mix of shock and confusion. There has never been anyone else. Just you. She shoved me away then, stumbling back until her spine hit the fire door with a heavy metallic thud. She didn't cry out in pain. She just glared at me. Her eyes were still red, but the shock had been replaced by a fierce, burning light. Her lips were red and swollen, my handiwork. She raised the back of her hand and wiped her mouth aggressively, as if trying to scrub something filthy away. Are you crazy, James? Her voice was a low snarl, every word dripping with venom. I didn't say anything. I just watched her. My chest was still heaving, and I could still taste her. Bitter smoke and something uniquely Chloe. It felt more real than anything in the last 20 years. Yeah, I'm crazy, I said, my voice raspy. I've been crazy since the day you started looking at me like I was just some guy on the street. I've been crazy since you started trying to push me away. Chloe's breath hitched. Her eyes flickered, and for a split second, the icy mask cracked. But only for a second. In the next heartbeat, the thorns were back out. Why are you yelling at me? She scoffed, looking away at the stained wall. The person who made you crazy is in the lounge crying for you. Don't take your drunken breakdown out on me. Always this. Every time I try to get close, every time I try to touch something real, she put up her guard and shoved me back with the harshest words she could find. She treated my feelings like a pathetic, inconvenient joke. That familiar sense of powerlessness washed over me, mixing with a lingering adrenaline. I took a step toward her. She didn't retreat, but her body went taut, like a cornered cat. Chloe, I said, staring into her eyes, forcing her not to look away. She didn't move, though her lashes fluttered. Sarah confessed to me, and you don't give a damn, do you? Why should I? She curled her lip into a fake, stinging smile. Should I go get some confetti? Happy anniversary to the new couple. Phoenix. Great. I nodded, the fire in me dying into a dull, aching numbness. I stepped back, creating space between us. The dim light of the stairwell felt like a physical canyon separating us. Then why did you run? I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm. You watched her confess, you watched everyone cheer, and you just sat there playing on your phone like it was a boring movie. Great acting, Chloe. Her fake smile finally slipped. Her mouth pressed into a hard line, her gaze darting away. I just wanted some air. Is that a crime? Sure. Why not? I laughed, and it probably sounded more like a sob. Have you had enough air now? Or do you need more time to figure out how to give us your blessing? I said those last words slowly like a knife. I knew I was being a jerk. I couldn't help it. I knew her too well, every twitch of her face, every lie she used to cover her panic. And because I knew her, I hated her for this. I hated her for always pushing me away, for never being brave enough to admit the truth. Don't you dare, James. She whipped her head back toward me, her eyes turning red with a mix of fury and hurt. Don't I dare? I pointed at myself, feeling the absurdity of it all. Which one of us is being unfair here? Chloe? All these years, The words died in my throat. A single tear, unbidden, rolled out of her eye. It raced down her cheek, hung for a moment on her chin, and splashed on her hand. It was silent, but it felt like a bullet to my heart. All my accusations, my anger, and my resentment vanished instantly, leaving nothing but cold ash and sharp regret. She was crying. Chloe Davis. The girl who hadn't cried in front of me since we were kids. The girl who could get into a bloody scrap and still grin at me. She was crying. Because of me. Because of my words. My bravado deflated. I was left with nothing but panic. Chloe, I reached out to touch her, but my hand hovered in the air, afraid to land. She quickly wiped her face with her sleeve, scrubbing away the moisture. When she looked up again, her face was clear, though her nose was still pink. But the look in her eyes, a profound, desperate exhaustion, terrified me. James, she said, her voice thick but hauntingly steady. Let's not do this anymore. My heart skipped. Do what? This. She sniffed, looking at my chest without focus. Torturing each other, saying the meanest things we can think of. It's exhausting. It's not worth it. She paused, as if gathering her strength, then finally met my eyes. Sarah loves you. It's real. She's a good girl. She'd be good to you. You two together. It would be good. Each sentence felt like an icicle being driven into my heart. I looked for a lie, for a hint of hesitation. There was none. Her eyes were flat, resigned. It was as if saying those words had drained the last of her life. Chloe, I said, my voice trembling. Is that what you really want? Silence stretched between us, long enough to suffocate. Then, she gave a microscopic nod. Yes. The world seemed to lose its sound. There was only the roar of blood in my ears and the sound of my own heart cracking. I looked at her for a long time. The motion sensor light in the stairwell timed out, plunging us into darkness. Only the green glow of the exit sign cast a ghostly shadow over her face. I suddenly started to laugh, a low, bitter sound from the back of my throat. "Fine," I said. "You're something else, Chloe." I turned away from her. My fingers hit the cold metal handle of the fire door. "As you wish." I pulled the door open. The bright light of the hallway flooded in, tearing the darkness apart and leaving her figure behind in the shadows. I didn't look back. I walked into the light, my feet feeling like they were made of lead. Behind me, the heavy door slowly swung shut with a dull, final thud. I didn't go back to the lounge. That place felt like hell now. I walked straight out of the karaoke bar and into the night. As the wind hit my face, I realized my cheeks were wet. Damn it, get it together. I wiped my face roughly and stood by the curb, reaching for a cigarette, only to remember I'd left them on the sofa inside. I kicked a metal trash can, the clang echoing through the empty street. "James?" a voice called out tentatively. I turned to see Leo, a junior from the agency, coming out of 7-Eleven with a bag of snacks and drinks. He looked at me, then at the dented trash can. "You, okay? Why are you out here? Is Sarah?" "I'm fine." I cut him off, trying to sound normal. It was getting stuffy. "I'm heading out. Tell the others I had something to take care of." "Oh, okay." Leo nodded, then hesitated. "What about Sarah?" "Tell her to go home and get some rest." I started to walk away, then stopped. "And if Chloe asks, tell her too." "Chloe?" Leo looked confused. "She left ages ago. Right around the time Sarah confessed, I think I saw her bolt." My heart felt like it had been pricked by 1,000 needles. "Got it." I didn't look back again. I walked to the parking lot, got into my car, and slammed the door. The world finally went quiet. I leaned my forehead against the steering wheel, feeling completely drained. My mind was a tangled mess of images. Sarah's crying face, Chloe's cold eyes, the taste of tobacco in that kiss. You two together. It would be good. How'd we get here? Chloe and I had been together since we were in diapers. We'd shared popsicles, fought 1,000 times, took the blame for each other's mistakes, and were always there when things got ugly. I knew her better than I knew myself. I knew she was afraid of the dark, that she hated cilantro, and that her tough exterior was just a shield for how sensitive she really was. She knew all my embarrassments, too. She knew I couldn't drink cold water because of my stomach, and that despite my bad boy act, I hated disappointing people. We had shared headphones, worn each other's hoodies, and eaten 1,000 meals at each other's houses. Our parents basically considered us their own kids. We were only one step away from something more. But I've been walking that step for years, and it felt like I'd never reach the other side. Every time I thought I was close, she'd retreat and push me away. I used to think it was just a matter of time, that she wasn't ready or I wasn't good enough yet. I figured I could wait. She didn't have anyone else but me anyway. But Sarah's confession had shattered that delusion. It had forced out Chloe's cold, hardcore, a part of her I'd never truly touched. She didn't want me. She wanted to give me away. I punched the steering wheel, the horn blaring a long, jagged note in the silence. A car alarm nearby started chirping. I slumped back into the seat and covered my eyes. My palms were wet. Pathetic. I sat there for God knows how long until my phone started vibrating. It was Sarah. I didn't answer. She called again and again. Finally, the call stopped and the messages started flooding in. "James, where are you? I'm so sorry about tonight. I was impulsive. I didn't mean to make it awkward. Can we talk? Please answer me. I'm worried. I can't reach Chloe either. Are you guys okay?" When I saw Chloe's name, my pupils contracted. She wasn't answering either. Where could she be? Knowing her, she wouldn't go home. If her parents saw her like that, they'd be at my house in 10 minutes demanding answers. Which meant she was at. I sat up straight and started the engine. I knew exactly where she was. Deep in the West Side, in an old neighborhood, there was a 24-hour diner called Joe's. It was a greasy spoon that had been there for 30 years. The coffee was strong, and the breakfast burritos were the size of your head. It was our secret spot. Since middle school, whenever she was upset, or I was pissed off, or if we fought and didn't want to go home, we'd end up there. We'd order 2 plates of eggs and hash browns and sit in silence until the steam cleared our heads. Sometimes we'd order a second round just to make sure the anger was gone. Old man Joe never said much. He'd just smile and maybe give us an extra side of bacon, saying, "Kids need to eat." As we got older and started working, we went there less often. But the place was like a landmark in our memories. No matter how far we went, we could always find our way back. I parked a block away and walked in. The streetlights were dim, and the air smelled like old rain and exhaust. I saw the warm, yellow glow of the diner's neon sign through the gloom. There were only a few customers, some night shift workers hunched over their plates. In the far corner, someone was sitting alone. Black denim jacket, a messy ponytail with loose strands falling against her neck. She was facing away from the door, staring into a cup of steaming coffee. Her shoulders looked small and lonely. My heart ached again. I walked over and pulled out the plastic chair opposite her. It screeched against the floor. She didn't look up. She knew it was me. I didn't say anything either. Joe saw me and gave a tired but friendly nod. Hey, James. The usual. I nodded. Thanks, Joe. Coming right up. The silence stretched between us, filled only by the sounds of the kitchen and the other customers. After a while, I heard her sniff. It was faint, but I caught it. I looked at her. She was still looking down, but a tear fell straight into her coffee, creating a tiny ripple. Chloe, I said, my voice cracking. Let's talk. No response. Don't do this, I said, every word a struggle. Say what you need to say. Scream at me if you want. Just don't. Don't cry. She finally moved. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, then grabbed the hot sauce bottle and started shaking it onto her eggs. She kept shaking it until the eggs were a bright, angry red. Then she took a bite. Her brow furrowed immediately. So spicy, she whispered, her voice thick with tears. Looking at her face, scrunched up from the heat and the misery, a wave of tenderness broke through my own anger. It was like a frozen lake finally cracking, letting the warm water underneath surge up. Serves you right, I said softly. Who told you to use that much? She ignored me and kept eating the ruined eggs, bite after bite, as if it were a penance. Joe brought my plate over then. Here you go. Careful, it's hot. He looked at Chloe's barely touched, red-drenched plate, then at her red eyes. He sighed, said nothing, and walked away. I looked at my own food, then used my fork to move half of my untouched eggs and bacon onto her plate. She stopped mid-bite. Eat mine, I said. Stop eating that garbage. You're going to burn your throat out. She stared at the fresh food I'd given her for a long time. I expected her to say something sharp, something to push me away, but she just picked up her fork and started eating my eggs, silent and slow. As she ate, the tears started falling again. Big, heavy drops splashing onto the plate. She didn't bother wiping them. She just kept eating and crying. It was a quiet, broken sort of weeping that hurt more than any loud sob. I put my fork down. I couldn't eat another bite. Chloe, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry about tonight. She shook her head, tears flying. I shouldn't have yelled. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I struggled to find the right words. I was just so angry. Seeing you act like none of it mattered to you, I just lost it. I know. She finally spoke, her voice raspy and broken. I know you didn't mean it. She looked up at me, her lashes clumped with salt. James, I'm sorry too. I froze. I shouldn't have said those things. She sniffed, trying to force a smile that looked more like a grimace. That blessing stuff. It was a lie. I didn't want to wish you too well. I was dying inside. I was so jealous I wanted to flip the table when she confessed to you. She started rambling, the tears coming faster. But what was I supposed to do, James? Tell me. She's my best friend. We shared a dorm for 4 years. She stood up to my shitty ex for me. She went to the hospital with me. I told her everything. How could I? How could I steal the guy she loves? She finally broke down, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. I love you, James. I love you so much it's killing me. But I'm terrified of losing her. I'm terrified that everyone will look at me like I'm some disgusting, backstabbing bitch. Her words were like a blunt, rusty blade sawing at my heart. It wasn't sharp, but the pain was deep and agonizing. So that was it. All the coldness, the pushing away, the fake smiles. It was all a cover for this crushing guilt and fear. She didn't do it because she didn't care. She did it because she cared too much. She would rather let herself bleed out than reach for what she wanted. I stood up, walked around the small table, and knelt beside her. I pulled her hands away from her face. They were cold and trembling. Chloe, I said, forcing her to look at me. Listen to me. I looked at her tear-streaked face and spoke as clearly as I could. You are not a bad person. Loving someone is never a crime. You are not disgusting. Not even a little bit. I took a deep breath, letting out everything I kept bottled up for years. And another thing, I'm not something you can just give away. I'm not a trophy to be handed around. Who I love and who I want to be with is my choice. Sarah loving me is her business. But you, Chloe Davis. I gripped her hands tight. I only need you to answer one question. I stared into her eyes, giving her nowhere to hide. Do you want me? Yes or no? The wind whistled through the vents of the diner, carrying the chill of the night. The warm, yellow light of the diner wrapped around us. The other customers were long gone. The world felt like it had narrowed down to just the two of us and the hum of the refrigerator. Chloe looked at me, her tears still flowing, but a light began to spark in her eyes, like stars appearing after a storm. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She just looked at me and gave a firm, desperate nod. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a boulder dropping into the still water of my soul, sending out massive waves. I closed my eyes and let out a long, long breath, releasing years of anxiety, insecurity, and pain. When I opened my eyes, I reached up and wiped the mess of tears from her face. My movements were slow and gentle. "Remember what you just did?" I said, my voice thick with emotion. You nodded. "No takebacks, Chloe." She shook her head, then nodded again, tears splashing everywhere, but she finally managed a real smile, a watery, beautiful one. "Yeah," she whispered. "No takebacks." I looked at her and felt my own eyes sting. I stood up and pulled her out of the chair. "Come on, let's go home. I didn't finish the food," she murmured, looking at the half-eaten plates. "We'll take it to go." I zipped her jacket up to her chin to block the wind. "Joe, check, please. And can we get boxes?" Joe came over, grinning at our red eyes. He didn't ask a thing. He just packed the food up quickly and handed me the bag. "There are no hurdles you can't get over, kids," he said warmly. "Just keep talking. It'll be all right." "Thanks, Joe." I paid the bill, took the bag, and led Chloe out into the night. Her hand was cold, but in my palm, it slowly began to warm up. We didn't speak as we walked back to the car. We just walked side by side, our shadows stretching and shrinking under the streetlights, finally overlapping until they were one. As we reached the car, she gave my hand a little tug. "James!" "Yeah, I think I left my wallet at the diner." I blinked and looked at her. She was looking back at me, her eyes and nose still red, but her gaze was clear and contained a tiny, hidden spark of mischief. She looked just like the little girl who used to lose her eraser just so I'd have to help her find it. I looked at her for a long time, then let out a resigned sigh. "Stay here." I let go of her hand and ran back toward the warm, yellow glow of the diner. The wind whipped past my ears, smelling of coffee and the faint scent of her perfume that I knew by heart. My heart had never felt so solid, so warm. I found out later that Sarah cried for a long time that night. Our co-workers took her home. They said her eyes were swollen like peaches the next morning. When Sarah finally came back to work, she was wearing a sharp outfit and perfect makeup. She looked okay, but whenever she looked at Chloe or me, her gaze would flicker away instantly. During lunch break, she knocked on my office door. "Come in." Sarah walked in and placed a folder on my desk. "James, here's the market data analysis for last quarter. It's all organized." Her voice was steady, professional. "Thanks." I looked up from my screen. "Are you feeling better?" She seemed surprised I asked. She gave me a standard, polite office smile. "Much better. Thank you for asking. About the other night. I overstepped. I'm sorry if I caused any trouble for everyone." She sounded distant, like a stranger. "Sarah," I said as she turned to leave. "Let's talk." Her back stiffened for a second. She turned back slowly, the polite smile still in place, but I could see the flicker of exhaustion in her eyes. "If it's about work, I'm available. If it's personal," she paused, her voice dropping, "I don't think right now is the best time." I looked at this girl I'd known for 6 years. She had been the sunshine of our trio, the one who always cheered us up. Now, she was building a wall of politeness between us. "Just a few words," I said, pointing to the chair. "Seat." She hesitated, then sat, her back stiff as a board. The office was quiet for a moment, save for the hum of the AC. "Sarah," I began about that night. I was drunk, and I said things I didn't mean. She cut me off, her words coming out in a rush like she'd practiced them 100 times. "Don't take it to heart, James. Don't feel pressured. Let's just act like it never happened, okay? Can we just go back to the way things were? You're Chloe's friend, and you're my boss. Can we do that?" I looked at her and sighed. "Sarah, I'm sorry." She flinched, her fingers gripping her skirt. I should be the one saying sorry. I looked at her, trying to be as sincere as possible without being leading. "I didn't realize you felt that way. If I did anything to give you the wrong idea, I apologize. But I've always seen you as Chloe's best friend, and as a very important person in my life. Just as a friend." Sarah looked down, silent for a long time. When she looked up, her eyes were red, but she bit her lip to keep the tears back. "I know," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "I've always known. I held on to this stupid fantasy. I thought maybe if I waited long enough, you'd finally see me." She gave a self-deprecating laugh, and a single tear escaped. She wiped it away instantly. "The dream's over now. It's for the best." She sniffed and looked at me with a bit of relief. Actually, I should have woken up a long time ago. I was just stubborn. I wanted to take one last shot. I lost, and I made a fool of myself in front of you and Chloe. No one thinks you're a fool, I said firmly. Sarah, you're a great girl. You'll find someone who really deserves you. Please, no nice guy speeches. She managed a weak smile as she stood up. I'm going back to work now. At the door, she paused. Without turning around, she spoke softly. James. She didn't call me boss. Be good to Chloe. She cares about you more than anyone. Don't let her down. She opened the door and walked out. I leaned back in my chair and let out a long breath. That evening, Chloe hitched a ride home with me. We were quiet most of the way. At a red light, I reached over and took her hand. She tensed for a second, then relaxed. Her palm was soft and slightly cool. Sarah came to see me today, I said, looking at the countdown on the light. Chloe went rigid. Oh, I made things clear with her. Oh, she told me to be good to you. Chloe whipped her head toward me, her eyes wide with shock and a hint of panic. What else did she say? Nothing. I squeezed her hand as the light turned green. Just that. She went quiet again, looking out at the city lights. After a long time, I heard her whisper, James! Yeah, do you think we'll get bad karma for this? I blinked and looked at her. Her face was in shadow, but I could hear the tremor in her voice. Stealing your best friend's crush. In movies, people like that never get a happy ending. My heart twinged. So she was still afraid. Afraid that our happiness was stolen, that it was built on someone else's pain and would eventually be taken back. Hey, I said, reaching over to ruffle her hair, messing up her ponytail. We didn't steal anything. Feelings aren't something you can hand out like candy. They just are. They belong to whoever they belong to. She didn't answer. She just leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. We pulled into the parking garage. I didn't get out right away, and neither did she. Chloe, yeah, look at me. She turned, her eyes bright in the darkness. I leaned in close. Listen, I'm only saying this once. I've loved you since we were kids. For over 20 years. That love is mine. I didn't take it from anyone, and I never gave it to anyone else. It has always had your name on it. So don't talk to me about karma. I brushed her eye with my thumb. If there's a price to pay, I said slowly, I'll pay it. She stared at me, her lashes fluttering. Then a warm tear rolled onto my finger. She suddenly lunged forward and pressed her lips to mine. A clumsy, salty, desperate kiss. It was over in a heartbeat. She pulled back and looked down, her ears turning bright red. Okay, she whispered. I looked at her and felt my heart melt. I leaned in and nipped her earlobe gently. Good girl. That weekend, my mom called and told us to come over for Sunday pot roast, Chloe's favorite. Chloe and I shared a look that said, here we go. Our families lived across the hall from each other. We'd grown up together. Our parents were best friends. To them, we were already part of each other's families. My mom and Chloe's mom had been joking about us getting married since we were 10. But jokes are one thing. Coming out as a couple was another. How were we supposed to say it? Hey guys, we're actually dating now, just like you wanted for 20 years. It felt awkward, but we couldn't skip dinner. On the drive there, Chloe was clearly nervous, picking at her seatbelt. Relax, I said. It's just dinner at my house. You've done this 1,000 times. It's different now, she snapped, her ears turning pink. It feels like what? Like we're about to get caught doing something we shouldn't be doing. She blurted it out and then turned beet red. I laughed. What's so funny? She hissed, pinching my arm. Nothing, I said, catching her hand and holding it. Just that I never thought I'd see the day Chloe Davis was scared of my mom. She tried to pull away, failed, and just looked out the window. I'm not scared. We parked and went up. We stood in front of my door and shared one last look. How do we do this? I mouthed. She took a deep breath, looking like she was about to go into battle, and knocked. Coming. My mom's voice rang out, and the door flew open. Oh, you're finally here. Come in. Chloe, sweetie, I've been slow cooking this roast all day just for you. My mom pulled Chloe inside, fussing over her immediately. You look thin. Are you eating? James, are you being mean to her again? Yep, still the favorite child. Chloe shot me a smirk. Dinner was loud, as usual. My dad and Chloe's dad were having a beer and talking about the game. My mom and Chloe's mom were busy gossiping about the neighborhood. Chloe and I kept our heads down and ate. But of course the topic came up. So Chloe, her mom said, dropping a piece of beef on her plate. How's work? Many nice guys lately. Here it was. Chloe and I both choked on our drinks at the same time. Mom. Chloe turned red. Why are you asking that? Just asking. You're not getting any younger, her mom said with a grin. The neighbor's daughter is your age, and she's already engaged. Your mom and I were talking the other day, and we thought maybe you too. She looked meaningfully at me, then at Chloe. We two what? Chloe played dumb, shoveling potatoes in her mouth. Stop acting silly, my mom chimed in, smiling. You and James grew up together. You know everything about each other. Honestly, you two should just get it over with and date already. It would save us a lot of worrying. Puffed. This time it was my dad, spraying a bit of beer as he coughed. Honey, stop it, my dad said to my mom. Let the kids handle their own lives. I'm just saying, my mom argued. Chloe is a treasure. I'd rather she stay in the family. James, don't you agree? Every eye at the table turned to me. I had a piece of roast beef halfway to my mouth. I didn't know whether to swallow or spit it out. Under the table, Chloe gave me a sharp kick to the shin. I put my fork down, wiped my mouth, and looked around the table. Chloe looked like she wanted to crawl into her bowl. I reached under the table and found her hand. It was sweaty and trembling, but she didn't pull away. I took a breath. Actually, Mom, everyone, there's something we should tell you. The table went dead silent. Even my dad stopped coughing. Chloe and I squeezed her hand, and I felt her squeeze back with surprising strength. We're together. Silence. It lasted about 5 seconds. Really? My mom was the first to jump up, her face lighting up like a Christmas tree. Oh my God. Really? Since when? Why didn't you say anything? George, did you hear that? Our son finally got a clue. Chloe's mom was beaming too. I knew it. These two have been inseparable since they were toddlers. It was only a matter of time. Chloe's dad laughed and clapped my dad on the shoulder. Looks like we're officially family now, buddy. My dad looked bewildered, looking from me to Chloe to my mom. Wait, you all knew this was coming. Only you didn't, you old bear, my mom laughed, piling more food onto our plates. Eat up. This is a celebration. George, open that good bottle of wine. We're celebrating tonight. Chloe was redder than a beet, but she was smiling. The weight that had been sitting on my chest for years finally vanished. Being told that the people you care about are happy for you. It's a hell of a feeling. We stayed for hours, talking about everything from when's the wedding to who gets the kids on holidays. We eventually escaped after promising to keep them updated on our plans. The night air was cool as we walked out. Our shadows overlapped on the sidewalk. When we got to the park near the building, Chloe stopped at the swings. James. Yeah. Were you serious back there? She was kicking a pebble with her sneaker. About which part? I teased. About what you told our parents. About being together and having plans. I turned to face her. In the moonlight, her eyes were shimmering with hope and a little bit of fear. I cupped her face in my hands. Chloe, listen, I've never been more serious about anything. When I said I'd protect you when we were kids, I meant it. When I said I'd help you with your homework in high school, I meant it. When I said I'd stay up all night helping you finish your portfolio in college, I meant it. And when I told you I loved you at the diner, I meant that too. As for plans, I leaned in until our foreheads touched. My plans have always included you. From the very beginning. She blinked, her lashes brushing my skin. Then she smiled. Her eyes looked like they were full of stars. James. Yeah. Did you ever say stuff like that to other girls? I paused. Are you kidding? She cut me off by leaning up and kissing me. It was a light, sweet kiss that tasted of the mint she'd had after dinner. Just kidding, she said. I know. You've always been mine. The wind was soft. The moon was full. I looked at her and laughed, then leaned down to catch her lips again. Yeah, I whispered. Always yours. It was just another late night at the agency. I finished up the last contract and rubbed my aching temples. The city lights were bright outside the window. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Still working? Hungry? Want me to bring you something? There was a sticker of a puppy peeking around a corner. I smiled. Almost done. What do you want? I can pick something up. No, I'll come to you. I have some files for tomorrow anyway. What are you craving? There's a new place downstairs with great clam chowder. Sound good. See you in 20. I packed up my things and headed down. When I got to the lobby, I saw someone I didn't expect. Sarah. She was standing outside the glass doors, holding a gift bag, looking at her phone. The wind was blowing her hair around her face. I hesitated, then walked over. Sarah? Still here. She jumped a little. When she saw me, she looked flustered, then held up the bag. Oh, hey. Just finished. I remembered you. You guys were working late, so I picked up some dessert. She tried to sound casual, but there was a hitch when she said, you guys. I looked at the bag. It was from that upscale Italian bakery Chloe loved. Is that for Chloe? Yeah, she nodded, handing it over. She likes their tiramisu. Just give it to her. I won't go up. I didn't take it. Give it to her yourself. She'll be here any minute. Sarah's hand stayed in the air. She looked down. I don't know if I can face her yet. I looked at her. She looked pale. It had been a hard few weeks for her, I knew. Being caught between us, seeing her best friend with the guy she'd wanted. It wasn't easy. Sarah, I said gently, thank you, but I think it would mean more coming from you. She looked up, her eyes watery. I don't know what to say. James, I really regret everything. I regret drinking that night. I regret being impulsive. I regret saying those things. If I hadn't said anything, we'd still be best friends. We'd still be hanging out and complaining about work, instead of being like this. She wiped a tear away. I know I don't have a right to say anything. I messed it up, but I really don't want to lose Chloe. She was crying now, looking small and helpless. I felt for her. She had just made a mistake in love. I started to reach out to pat her shoulder, then stopped myself. It wouldn't be right. I wasn't just James anymore. I was Chloe's boyfriend. I handed her a tissue instead. Here. Thanks. Sorry I'm a mess, she sobbed. I just can't help it. Every time I see her, my heart sinks. But I'm so afraid she'll never talk to me again. Just then, I heard a voice behind me. James! We both turned. Chloe was standing a few feet away, holding a bag of food. She looked at me, then at the tissue in my hand, then at Sarah's tear-stained face. Finally, she looked at the bakery bag. The air felt like it had turned to ice. I saw Chloe's expression shift from confusion to realization, then settle into something unreadable. She didn't say anything. She just watched us. Chloe, wait, I can explain. I started to move toward her. You don't have to, Chloe said. Her voice was calm. She walked over, handed me the bag of chowder, and then looked at Sarah. Sarah was looking at the ground, trembling. Sarah, Chloe said. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. Let's talk. Sarah looked up, stunned. Chloe gave her a tiny smile, the kind of smile that makes everything feel okay. She reached out and looped her arm through Sarah's, just like they used to do in college. Come on, I know a quiet place nearby that's still open. She looked back at me. James, you go on home. Eat your chowder while it's hot. And then, without waiting for me to say a word, she led Sarah away. Sarah stumbled a bit, but followed, looking back at me with a bewildered expression. I stood there alone in the lobby, holding a bag of warm clam chowder. I felt a little left out, but mostly I felt proud. I knew my girl. She was brave enough and kind enough to fix what was broken. I walked to my car, the night air cool on my face. I looked up at the sky. There were no stars, just the hazy orange glow of the city clouds. But I knew the stars were up there, just like the love between us. It was always there. Story complete.